Welcome into the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. I'm going to try to be a little bit more quiet today, a little quieter today. My people on the podcast voice today, because Mama is on another trip. So Lil Toots might be moseying her way in the studio as she so commonly does. Now, Mum is here. Mum is running security, all right, at the Farzetta household today. So Lil Toots hopefully will not have access to the studio. If she does, it'll be great. I'll dad live on the show, live to tape on the show. I'll get text messages from people. I'll get the DMs from people, how they love hearing me dad on the show. And I try to dad hard, man. Oh, man, if you're going to dad, you better dad hard. It's the only way to dad. You understand what I'm saying? So we're gonna hopefully be hearing, hopefully not having to hear Mum running defense. A great Jason Kelce blocking scheme. All right, you understand what I'm saying? So we have that going for us today. We also have this. The Eagles are not playing this weekend, which I understand that you know already. However, oh my goodness gracious, the week ahead, I cannot wait for a Super Bowl rematch. The only time I will not be thinking about the Eagles this weekend is when I'm watching the Sixers. That's the only time I won't be thinking about the Eagles. When I watch football on Sunday, when I run some errands on Saturday, we had the taping yesterday of Greatest Sports Legends Then and Now, latest episodes. We got another taping on Saturday. So we got that going on. But the whole time that I won't be working, I should say, for the whole time I won't be watching the Sixers, I'll be thinking about the Philadelphia Eagles getting back at it against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football when both teams return from their bye. And as I'm just trying to enjoy a little Thursday Night Football last night with the Bears and Panthers, yeah, that's right, I said it, tried to enjoy a Bears and Panthers matchup on Thursday night, prime. Who enters the studio? Who enters the booth, I should say, with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit? Oh, the one, the only Mr. Jason Kelce himself. So I was just thinking about the Eagles, and then boom, they appear just like that. I'm going to say this. If you saw Jason Kelce last night, it's very rare that we ever hear him in the booth. I can't think of a time I've ever heard him in the booth before. I've heard him done shows, obviously, on the radio. I've had him as a guest many times when I was on the radio, and I've talked to him. Was at his event last year and all that stuff. Here's the deal. In the booth, I don't just throw this out. And I'm going to warn you, and we're going to talk to the mighty E-Rock, Eric Emanuel, coming up in a little bit on this program today to give us the fans' perspective here of where the Eagles are at and what you're looking for. I gave you my list of things I'm looking for in the second half of the season. I gave you my list of things that I loved about the first half of the season and all that type jazz. But we're going to talk to Eric Emanuel coming up in a little bit on this show to kind of put it all in perspective. And I don't just throw this hot take out there. It has nothing to do with the Dallas Cowboys being insignificant. Jason Kelce, if he wanted to do it, and I don't see why he'd want to do it, and I don't think he would do it, but if he did, Jason Kelce could be the next John Madden in the booth. Jason Kelce has the ability to talk about blocking schemes, talk about coverages, talk about everything you could ever want to talk about in the sport of football. And then he has the ability to break it down for the casual fan watching the broadcast, or the casual fan who got roped into having to be in the same room as the broadcast. And that was what made John Madden so fantastic. He was great at breaking it down for the X's and O's fans, and he was great at being entertaining for the casual fan. Or, again, the fan that just happened to be in the room while the game was on. Also, John Madden, hilarious. Jason Kelce, hilarious. And they both have that type of blue-collar mentality that people absolutely love. And it's genuine. It's not just some guy that you believe that Jason Kelce is the everyman. And if you've met Jason Kelce, if you spent any time with Jason Kelce, he is absolutely the everyman. And I was listening to him in the booth last night. I heard Al Michaels say, well, you'll stick around for another segment, right? And he's like, as long as you'll have me, Al. And he was great. And one of the things I loved is that while he was in the booth, he would pause in his stories as the play started to let Al Michaels do the play-by-play, or Kirk Herbstreit start doing the analysis, or Jason Kelce would start doing the analysis. He talked about the tush push. It was brought up. Al Michaels asked about it. There's people trying to get it banned. What do you think? He's like, I ain't banning it. And he broke that down, but didn't give away the trade secrets. Didn't give away the trade secrets as to keep it special for Philadelphia. I had the thought while I was listening to him, and it was like, if you remember 2 baseball seasons ago now, right before Bryce Harper came back from injury, he was in the booth with Tom McCarthy. And I just remember thinking, this guy is such a natural. And I had that same thought. And everybody's reaction to it was like, well, not that Bryce Harper, after he makes $350 million off this contract, is going to be looking for a gig. But if you ever wanted to just stay around baseball in some capacity, oh, my goodness gracious, throw him right in the booth. Because he's fantastic. I had that same thought when I was listening to Jason Kelce in the booth last night. If you caught any of if you happened to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan, maybe you had fantasy implications last night and you were watching the game. Maybe you just really love football. Maybe you have a problem and you really, really love football. Maybe a little too much. And then you were watching a Thursday night game of the Bears and Panthers. You got a nice little treat with Jason Kelce all of a sudden sliding into the booth. And it was great. And I listened to him thinking this guy has a future as not just a broadcaster. We all know he can do the podcast with his brother forever, okay? Forever. We all know he can do radio shows forever. But to be an analyst, a color analyst, in the booth for a live game is a totally different animal. He can do it no problem. Not that I would ever doubt he'd be able to do it, but he could be that good. I think he could be the next John Madden. It's very hard to mix in those very unique skills of being able to break it down at the X's and O's, and then also be, the funny guy, the lighthearted guy, the guy that appeals to that casual fan. And Jason Kelce does that every inch of it throughout his entire life. He's done that. As a player, he's obviously done it. To any broadcast medium that he has done, he has done that. And I think last night it was like, oh, I didn't even think of this. When it came to being a color analyst in the booth next to a play-by-play man. So if you caught it last night, great. If you didn't, it is what it is. He did. Al Michaels, I think it was him that said the other night, he's not going to be what Access Hollywood. He's not going to be Access Hollywood when it comes to Travis Kelce, who, just for the record, is not the sexiest man alive. Not even in the running. He's not going to be Access Hollywood, but then he goes and he asks Jason Kelce about Travis's love life. And I thought Jason said something funny. Jason said, the interesting thing with that whole scenario is Travis really tries to keep me out of it because he knows I'm kind of a big mouth. So they didn't confirm whether or not Travis was going to be going to South America for Tay-Tay's world tour and all that, whatever. But They did ask him about it, as I guess one would assume in today's modern NFL. But if you caught it last night, you got a little treat for Thursday Night Football. For having to watch Bears-Panthers, let's see, Soldier Field was the star of the show. Well, for me, Jason Kelce was the star of the show, and Soldier Field was the co-star. Other than that, nothing really going on there. Here's a couple of things that, while we're talking about football, I'll stay on the subject here, but while we're talking about it, look at this. Shout out to our graphics department, me, who threw this together before the show. This is what we're looking at for a slate of games that would pique your interest as an NFC football fan. For the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend, when they don't play, what are you going to be looking at? What are you going to be watching? What's going to make you perk up when you're watching the red zone this weekend? Well, here you go. 49ers at Jacksonville. At 1 o'clock start time coming up this weekend. I look forward to that. That's going to be going down. As we pay attention to that game, I just want to continue to see what San Francisco has going on. I mean, really, it's self-explanatory right there. San Francisco and Dallas, let's not forget, 5-3 on the season as of right now. The San Francisco 49ers have lost 3 in a row, and they have not been able, since their 42-point performance over the Dallas Cowboys, they have not been able to score more than 17 points in a football game. So, yes, I am very much looking forward to seeing what the 49ers do against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, by the way, are 1 win better at 6-2 on the season. They have rattled off 5 straight wins, and they're coming off a 20-10 victory over the Steelers. So we'll see how that works out. But that'll be a game there at 1 o'clock that I'll be looking at. 49ers at Jacksonville. Dougie P, obviously, involved in that one. And then this is a really interesting one. The Detroit Lions at the Los Angeles Chargers is going to be a very interesting matchup. Detroit, I really think at 6-2, Detroit is one of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, forget about the NFC. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. And they're one of the teams that I look at as a legit threat to win the NFC. Their defense is on point. Their run game is stout. Their offensive line has played. I will say this about Detroit. They have the highest rated offensive line in football, according to Pro Football Focus. I know that's something that we like to brag about here in Philadelphia. But one thing Detroit has really done this season that a lot of other teams haven't, i.e. the Eagles, Detroit has not shown off the run game the way, the Eagles have not shown off the run game the way the Detroit Lions have shown off the run game this season. And they've done a remarkable job in doing so, making sure that their running backs, and obviously not their quarterback like Philadelphia, the quarterback here in Philadelphia in Jalen Hurts, he shows off the running ability. Jared Goff ain't doing that in Detroit. Okay? You know what I'm saying? So for me, that is that's an amazing thing that Detroit has been able to do this season. And when you look at their numbers, for instance, when it comes to running the football, the Detroit, I knew I was going to do it sooner or later. The Detroit Lions right now have 131 yards per game. The Philadelphia Eagles are right behind him with 129 yards per game. But the attempts by the running backs and the quarterbacks, that's where the biggest difference is. They're doing it with Jahmyr Gibbs. They're doing it by being able to generate that run game thanks to their offensive line. So their offensive line is getting shown off more than what the Philadelphia Eagles have been able to do. David Montgomery for a part of the season, Craig Reynolds for part of the season, still going as well. Those guys are running the football very well for the Detroit Lions, where the Eagles, they don't invest in it enough. And as I talked about earlier in the week, I gave you my top 5 things about the Eagles before the bye, and I gave you 3 things that I'm really focusing on after the bye. Running the football is one of them, and not abandoning the run. But I tell you all that to tell you this: the Detroit Lions, 6-2, are taking on the LA Chargers. I realized I didn't put in the C there. The LA Chargers. That game's coming up this weekend at 4:05. Here's one that I think is going to be a bloodbath. All right, this is going to be a bit of a bloodbath. The Giants are going into Dallas for a 4:25 kickoff with the Cowboys. Tommy DeVito. Hey, Tommy. North Jersey product. Went to high school 20 miles, I believe, 20 miles away from MetLife Stadium. Tommy DeVito, 25 years old. Tommy DeVito, he's playing against the Dallas Cowboys as a starting quarterback for the first time in the NFL. He's appeared in 2 games this season. 62.8 passer rating in those 2 games he's appeared in. He is the 3rd string quarterback. He was undrafted in this past NFL draft. Tommy DeVito is getting the start. He'll be the 3rd Giants quarterback to get a start this season. Daniel Jones done for the season, torn ACL. Tyrod Taylor on IR with the rib injury. Tommy DeVito, if you were to have central casting to put a quarterback's name on the New York Giants, Tommy DeVito would be pretty much up there. But anyway, I digress. I need to see Tommy DeVito against Ben DiNucci. I need someone to make that happen as fast. And Vinny Testaverde as a coach. That's what I need to happen. Anyway. I love stories like this, and I take away the NFC East part of this. I mean, I think the Cowboys are going to win. Last I looked, the Cowboys were favored 15.5 was the spread. But that game's at 4:25. I would love nothing more. The greatest gift we could get, other than, no, this is the greatest gift we could get while the Eagles don't play, is the Cowboys get spanked by Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants. That would be such a beautiful thing. And I don't think that's going to happen. But you never know. You never know. Maybe the Cowboys really go down in the dumps after losing the way they did to the Philadelphia Eagles by being so close to winning, but yet doing the Cowboy thing and coming up small when it mattered most. So that game's kicking off at 4:25. I look forward to that. This game might as well be an honorable mention, but I'm mentioning it. The Washington Commanders are going into Seattle. Seattle now is also 5-3 on the season. So Detroit has the best record of these teams that I'm looking at right now as far as the NFC goes at 6-2. But Washington's taking on Seattle. Seattle's now 5-3. That game's at 4:25. People were telling me about the fact that I should be afraid or whatever of the Seattle Seahawks. I am not afraid. And to go to another amazing graphic that I pulled off here. At the bottom of this list, you can't see it because of the crawl there, but the Eagles, of course, after Dallas, go to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. And people are like, oh, I got to watch Seattle. And I'm like, why? Why do I got – I'm going to go ahead and not take that game as serious as some other people are taking it, but, it's their own. I don't fear Seattle. I have been to the stadium. I've told you guys a million times that place is bonkers. That place is nuts. It is the loudest place I've ever been to, and I've been to just about every stadium in the NFL. Yes, I've been to the Superdome in New Orleans, and I've been to Seattle many times. Seattle's the only place when I walk around the field right before kickoff, my feet are vibrating on the ground. They are shaking. You can feel it. It's built I always say it's built like two Roman amphitheaters. That's a very specific and nerdy analogy. But anyway, where the sound just funnels in from the sides and goes down back onto the field, and it's just built to circulate sound. For those that want to get real nerdy, it's not exactly like the Roman Coliseum where that was two Roman amphitheaters put together, but these are two Roman amphitheaters spaced out apart, the size of a football field, and then the sidelines, obviously, facing one another. I still think the 12th man is the hokiest thing in all of sports. But anyway, not the point. I don't fear the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, it'll be loud. The Eagles are used to playing in loud environments. So I don't fear that game as many as some other people do. But if you do, you want to keep an eye on Seattle. They're kicking off at 4:25 against Washington Commanders. And then the Eagles got them, of course, in 5 weeks after they go into Dallas on December 10th to take on the Dallas Cowboys in yet another prime time game. Here you go. Look at that. 8:15 Monday night, 4:25 against Buffalo at home, 4:25 against San Francisco at home, and then 8:20 on Sunday Night Football. I got into this conversation the other day with some of my friends over there on Jacob Media, but it was basically just looking at the NFL and talking about the overall power rankings in the NFL right now. A team that it's got nothing to do with the NFC, just separately. But you obviously look at the Eagles as that top spot, best record. I think it was Pro Football Focus put out the list of like the most productive teams this season, and the Eagles were 7th. Okay, your numbers are adorable. All right, they're cute, and I'm glad you spent a lot of time on them. But the ultimate is the record. And Nick Sirianni's most humble brag after beating the Cowboys and going into their bye week was, you are what your record says you are. So through all the struggles, and we played the clip for you on this show, through all the struggles, bottom line is the Philadelphia Eagles are 8-1. You don't need extra info. You don't need analytics. You don't need to really dissect it. The bottom line is, no matter what it faces, the Eagles find a way to win. So if they're going to go to the Super Bowl, if they're going to go to the NFC Championship game again, the bottom line is, through all their struggles, through all their faults, they find a way to win. So if they get to the Super Bowl and they play a team like the Ravens, and we have an I-95 battle, right? A battle of the birds. Ugh. If that goes down, Eagles find a way to win. Now, you can't have the mistakes. You only make it harder on yourself to win when you have mistakes and you have flaws and you have errors. You throw an interception, you fumble a football, you get blown away on a tackle, you miss a tackle, whatever the case may be. We all know the ways to lose, unfortunately. But as of right now, one of the things I'm looking forward to is seeing how the Eagles always come back, unless they play the New York Jets. But looking at the power rankings right now, I think you got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles at number 1, being that they are the best team in the NFL, the best record in the NFL. I go with them number 1. The Baltimore Ravens are number 2 as far as I'm concerned. The Kansas City Chiefs, if you were looking at that gauntlet of games and you saw the Baltimore Ravens on there, I'd be a little bit more worried about the Eagles taking an L than I am facing the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll just say that much. So right now I got the Eagles, I got the Ravens, then I got the Detroit Lions. After all, they did beat that Chiefs team. Then I got the Chiefs. Then I got the Jaguars. Outside of that, I got the Dolphins. I mean, the 49ers losing 3 in a row really hurts them, but the Dolphins continue to just look like a fraud team. The Miami Dolphins this year are the Dallas Cowboys of the NFC. All right? Excuse me. The Dolphins are the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC. That's how I mean to say that. The Dolphins can't beat anybody good. They got a great team. They put up a lot of numbers. They're blowing teams away. They a lot of sacks, a lot of rushing yards, a lot of passing yards, total offense, leading. All that's great. Points, wonderful, glorious. A 70-point game against the Denver Broncos. Doesn't matter. They can't beat good teams. Here's where you know what the difference is between the Eagles and the adorable little Dolphins team. You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. The Eagles can beat good teams. It's not just finding a way to beat teams. They may beat good teams. Dolphins can't beat good teams. That's why they're not in the top 5. But if you're looking at it right now, I go Eagles, I go Ravens, I go Lions, I go Chiefs, and I go Jaguars. That's how I look at it for my top 5 in the NFL. Looking around the rest of the league, going into the bye week weekend, that's the way I look at it right now in the NFL. Well, this is let's just flip it over to basketball. It's not just because it's the Celtics. It's because the Sixers are the best team in the NBA. Top team, I should say. At 6-1, they're sitting pretty. Beating the Celtics obviously puts you in a great headspace. I don't have to tell anybody that. But what was an extra added piece of enjoyment last night? The Nuggets. The Nuggets are now 8-1. Excuse me, the Nuggets are 8-1. They're the best team in the NBA, and the defending champion, which kind of helps that. But the Sixers at 6-1. They're back at it tonight in Detroit against the Pistons for a 7:00 tip-off. I rewatched the extended highlights of the game against the Celtics, and I just wanted to see what jumped out to me that I noticed. And I mentioned this briefly yesterday, but I want to go into a little bit more. I know I've talked about the feeling of watching this team is vastly different than what we have thought about in years past. But the biggest thing to me about this team is the ball movement. It's if you play basketball at any level, you probably played a game where you're blowing out another team. Hopefully you experience this. You're blowing out another team, and the guy at the end of the bench hasn't gotten a bucket yet. Everyone's got a bucket. He hasn't gotten a bucket yet. She hasn't gotten a bucket yet. And you're like, all right, Timmy, get off the bench. All right, Sally, get off the bench. You're going to get a bucket. And then everyone just keeps feeding the ball, and it's like you're touching. All right, you need 4 touches before you score again, or whatever the case may be. That's what it's like watching the Sixers team. It's like everybody touches the ball. The ball movement is incredible. There was a play against the Celtics that I wish DeAnthony Melton had the icing on the cake, but he missed the shot, missed the cherry on top of the sundae. They moved the ball around so well. I think it went from Maxey to Embiid, Embiid to Harris, Harris to Embiid, Embiid to Maxey, Maxey to Melton, and Melton gets the 3 at the foul line extended and misses it. And I was just watching it be like, this is beautiful. Like, I know these guys have played together. Tobias, Embiid, Maxey, obviously, but they haven't played together without James Harden all that much recently. They haven't played together all that much without Ben Simmons when you go back even a couple years. And now DeAnthony Melton is a guy who came off the bench for you last year, gets some starting minutes in this opportunity here with the Sixers. And now he has the opportunity to put the icing on the cake and misses it. But I was just mesmerized. It was the type of thing where, of course, the end result isn't what you wanted. But if you move the ball like that throughout the season, forget about it. The teams are going to have a lot of trouble trying to defend you. You don't know who's going to kill you in that situation. You don't know if it's going to be Harris with the corner 3. You don't know if it's going to be Maxey at the top of the key hitting the 3. You don't know if Joel Embiid, when he gets the ball at the foul line, is going to do his little shimmy, get around and get to the basket for an and 1, or if he's going to pull up for a fadeaway jumper, or DeAnthony Melton's going to hit the 3 from the foul line extended. It is such a beautiful thing to watch. Nick Nurse it's just like having that guy that knows the X's and O's extremely well, knows the strategy extremely well, knows the opponent extremely well. And he's communicating with his players to get their feedback. I saw the story come out, I think it was Inquirer.com, about how Nick Nurse is taking in the information from his players better than anybody, and then applying it. Not just being like, great idea, and then never heard. You ever heard of that boss? That's a great idea, and then you never hear anything about it. Nick Nurse ain't that guy. Nick Nurse is, that's a great idea. Here's how we're going to use it right now. Thank you for that information. Here's how we're going to exploit the other team's weaknesses. Yes, this team, to use an old phrase now, hits different. Without James Harden being here, without Ben Simmons being here, with this officially being Joel Embiid's team, and then Tyrese Maxey on the up-and-coming mark, playing like an all-star, it's pretty special to watch. I'm enjoying every second of it. I can't wait. For 7 o'clock tonight, we'll have about 2.5 hours of not thinking about the Eagles. I'll be thinking about the Sixers entirely. Let me tell you guys right now about the great people at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Enjoy all MyBookie has to offer right now at mybookie.ag. That's mybookie.ag. You want to take advantage of their bets on the NFL? Take advantage. You want to take advantage of the bets on the NBA? Take advantage. How about their incredible blackjack tournaments as well? All at mybookie.ag. Win some cash for yourself and have yourself a good time. Oh, I left it out. I'm an idiot. I'm a big fat idiot. Oh, but real quick, let me tell you. Yeah, use promo code Farzy. Use promo code Farzy. You see it in the crawl right there. Use promo code Farzy at mybookie.ag for up to $100 redeemable deposit. So make sure you take advantage of all that and more. The Sixers. I was so distracted. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. What's the Nuggets record again? Yeah, they're 8-1. Mavericks are 6-2. Sixers are 6-1. But here you go. The Bucks dropped to 5-3 last night. Damian Lillard was not playing due to calf soreness, I believe it was. So he didn't play in the game last night. Giannis drops 54, which is a point shy of his career high of 55. They lost last night to the Indiana Pacers. And where is that in my notes? 126 to 124. So the Bucks took another hit. Pacers also have 6 wins. They're 6-3 on the season. That's where we are right now. All right, let's get into the chat check before we get to our conversation with E-Rock. See how you beautiful people are doing this fine morning. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Sean Kilrain, IBH, Go Sixers. Morning, Farzy. Good morning, Go Sixers. T-Bro. Farzy, quiet, impossible. I know. I'm just, now that you say that, I'm right back to my normal level. I'm sorry. Little Toots would definitely make that appearance. So she's been sick, as I told you guys, right? Now I feel like I'm getting it. So she's been sleeping in bed with mommy and daddy a little bit, right? So mommy's not here. She, of course, came into bed like maybe around 2 a.m. And I left, and I went downstairs, and I got her iPad. And I went back upstairs and just put it next to her. And I was just like, I literally just substituted myself with an iPad. So now she'll be playing her games or watching Blippi or whatever the heck she watches now. No, I know what she watches. She plays games on the iPad, okay? And then she watches Disney. She'll watch Frozen 2 for the 1,000th time, you know. But, yeah, actually, I think I told you guys this before. Now, Lil Toots, her nighttime routine, brushes her teeth, uses the potty, and then we read a book or two, and then we listen to Frank Sinatra on her request. No pressure from Dad. Nope. I know what you're thinking. Nope. She wants to listen to Come Fly With Me, or as she calls it, Pack Up, Let's Fly Away. She calls Come Fly With Me, Pack Up, Let's Fly Away. And then we listen to Young at Heart. Isn't that nice? That's the best way to end your day. And then I go watch Philadelphia sports and get frustrated. But whatever. But yeah, so that's that. Panthers gave up. DJ Moore, Jalen Carter, and pots and pans. Sean Kilrain, yeah. IBH, Kelsey was good last night. He absolutely was. Travis is a pretty man, not a sexy man. I like that. April. Morning, April. Sean Gillespie, Geno Smith can't believe he's somewhat successful in Seattle after Russ left. I know, right? How about this? The Broncos are 5-16 with Russell Wilson as their quarterback. That's pretty terrible. $245 million. Sean, can I see the Spectre X? I did not, but that's awesome. To all the veterans, thank you for your service. That's very nice, April. I second that. Happy birthday to the Marines, Semper Fi, absolutely. So that's cool. That's cool. That's adorable. She's got good taste. April says Kelsey was good last night. He was great last night. Absolutely. Jumping over to the Jacob Media chat. Carter has a back issue. Davis was with a hammy. Bradbury is injured or washed. Slay lost another step. Not slot corners besides Roby, who is injured 2 games. Byard is new to the team. Yes, and hopefully they all get along after the bye week. Allison, what's up, Allison? Ooh, Allison, interesting. There's been 13% regression in quarterback hits and pass breakups over the last 4 weeks. Does it matter? Why did it happen? How can we fix it? I hate to go to this, but the guys that are really good at football need to get healthy, like 100% healthy. And that's why this bye week, not just for Jalen Hurts, but also not just Jalen Hurts, but other guys need this bye week, and it's coming at the perfect time. Dank, what's going on? If San Francisco losing to Jacksonville, I would die laughing. Dank, oh, God, I would just bask in that. What's going on, Swinging? Nice to see you. Ridiculous. What's going on? A lot of money in completing commentating. That's millions of reasons to do it. Sure. Dank, hello. King Pooty, what's going on? Thanks, everybody. You guys are fantastic. Without further ado, let's talk to our friend Eric Emanuel, E-Rock, as he's known, right now here on the Farzy Show. I'm going to be out of here right now. We got this interview for you, but I want you guys to enjoy it and have a beautiful, wonderful, lovely weekend. Depending on what happens in the Sixers game tonight, I may do a post-game show, so just stay tuned for that, but I would doubt it in this case. Have a great weekend. If I don't talk to you, if I don't see you guys on Monday. Jim Hyden produced the program. Enjoy Eric Emanuel. E-Rock, giving it his thoughts on the Birds. The Orthopedics guest line. You knew him as E-Rock. You know him as Eric Emanuel. The man is a King Eagles fan as far as I am concerned, a content King Eagles fan. Does a lot of stuff with Philly sports trips. And Eric, I got to tell you, man, I was laughing out loud at the Eastbound and Down. Look at this. Look at Can you feel the tension? Between the Cowboys. Right I was scrolling on TikTok, which is something I spend way too much time on nowadays, and it was just fantastic. People need to follow you. How do we follow you on all your social media platforms, my friend?
It's all the same handle. I made it real easy for everybody. It's all the same handle. E-Rock, E-R-O-C-K _ Eagles. You can follow on Twitter, X, Instagram, and of course TikTok.
You owned it. You were fantastic. I mean, not that you're ever bad. I mean, just Cowboys week in general. I know the players always like to say they get up for that game. You, my friend, get up for that game.
Well, we're both kind of children of the 90s, right? So we remember. We remember those kids in middle school or high school that used to come in with the Dallas Cowboys starter jacket and make some excuse as to why they were a Cowboys fan. And the reality of the situation is that their father just didn't hug them enough. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. But we had to live through that and all the memes of how many rings you got, how many parades did you have, how many trophies you got. And I'll admit, generational gap, just a little bit, right? Because the younger generation, they don't kind of feel that same animosity towards the Cowboys because they didn't have to go through it. But you and I, we went through it. So Sunday was a big deal.
This is gonna sound like, well, first off, I shouted out the kid that came into school, James Wright, came into Our Lady of Mount Carmel after the Cowboys won their second Super Bowl in the Cowboys hat and the Cowboys jersey, and we're like, really? And guess what? Since 6th grade, E-Rock, he hasn't lived it down. We haven't let him live it down.
Don't ever. He's got to take that to the grave.
And he stuck with him. I will say this. He is still with him. Not that really adds anything to it, but I'm just saying he didn't like jump on and become like a Giants fan and then like a 49ers fan or whatever. Or a Patriots fan would be the best next thing. But when it comes to a bye week for you, how do you spend a bye week? Do you just spend it looking forward to football again? Or do you actually, is there something that you plan something you plan around the bye week?
Normally, you're right. Normally during a bye week, I wake up on a Sunday and I feel like something's missing. Like I should be doing something else. I should be down at the link. I should be tailgating. I should be on social media. I should be producing content. I got to admit to you, Mark, for the first time for as long as I can remember, I'm looking forward so much to this bye week. I need a mental and physical break. I don't know if you can still hear it in my voice. Like my voice is still recovering from that game. And just mentally, listen, I know they're 8-1, and I have no reason to complain. I'm gonna. And there's no reason to bitch and moan. I'm gonna, because these games have just taken years off of my life this year. And I'm looking forward to just chill, relax, stress-free Sunday.
Okay, let's kick your feet up a little bit. So good for you.
Hey,
So all right, so in that vein, then, when you travel around with the people at Philly sports trips and you're there with the fans and all that stuff, your fellow Eagles fans, I'm curious because when I break it down and talk about an 8-1 team and talk about the deficiencies of an 8-1 team, a first place best team in the NFL, fresh off an NFC title and a Super Bowl appearance and an MVP runner-up quarterback, and when I break it down, and I find the reasons to bitch and moan about it, it's like, stop being so negative. But do you look at it as, oh, wow, they're 8-1, things are great, or do you say they're 8-1, but can they really win a Super Bowl? Because I'm more in the vein of they're 8-1, but can they really win a Super Bowl? That's kind of how I measure them against the standard they've set for themselves.
I see it from this set of eyes. I see it like they're 8-1, thank God. To me, they're still figuring things out. To me, we come out of every victory when fluky Jets lost, but we come out of every victory going, you know what, this team really they didn't play all that great. They didn't play up to their potential. They're still trying to, Brian Johnson has still got to figure out that play calling thing. The receivers, and sometimes it's Jalen, getting a little fussy in the pocket. The linebackers, the secondary, Sean Desai, who albeit has done a phenomenal job. We still feel like this team's figuring it out. We're halfway through the season. So let's put it this way: if they lost to the Cowboys, if they lost to a couple other close teams, if this team was 4-5 or 5-4 instead of being the 8-1 that they are, we'd be pushing panic buttons like nuts, right? We'd be pushing panic buttons like crazy. I do think that this team is capable of winning a Super Bowl. I do believe in this team. I do believe in this coaching staff, and I do believe in the quarterback. But I still feel like we can't compare this team to last year. Last year's team was last year's team. This year's team is this year's team. So we're still waiting for them to, besides the Dolphins game, really kind of put it all together and give us an example of a complete game front to back. And at 8-1, that's a great position to be in, to be waiting for them to play their best football, and they got the best record in football.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. I feel like normally we're looking at a season like the Eagles have had so far. And we're like, and our normal reaction would be like, all right, you know what? They're 6-4, or they're 6-3.
Right.
There's something along those lines. That's the kind of season that I feel like they've had. But you look back on it and you go, all right, damn, they're 8-1. That's fantastic. But it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like an 8-1, which is the most nitpicky thing you could say. But let me ask you this: when it comes to this season, we'll get to the good stuff, but what do you need when the Eagles come back from their bye week and they got the Chiefs, they got the quote unquote gauntlet going on there, right? What do you need to see in the second half that you haven't seen enough of in the first half?
Unlike last year, I feel like last year the Eagles would sometimes offensively get off to a slow start, right? And then once halftime hit, adjustments were made. It was our biggest gripe against Andy. It was our biggest gripe against Chip and Doug, is that the halftime, they went into it with a game plan, and they did not deviate from that game plan. Last year, you felt like the Eagles, they just needed the first quarter just to kind of feel out how the game was going to go. Second half, they make their adjustments, jump on a team. This year, I almost feel like that first 15 scripted, it's beautiful. They'll go down, they'll score, they'll look great, and then for some reason, the play calling sputters. Yeah. The offense stutters. They have trouble closing it out. And that's really what listen, if this team is going to go and win said Super Bowl that we keep talking about, the offense is going to be the one to take them there. The defense has just got to hold them in it, man. The defense has just got to hold the opposing offense to enough points and let Jalen and the offense do what they got to do and stack those points, right? But in order to do that, and I think collectively we can all agree we're waiting for that one complete blowout, consistent step on their throats, offensive firepower. You got the weapons. So what's the excuse? The excuse is kind of I got to say it's the play calling, man. So I need that better coming out of the bye, especially when you're going up against offenses like the Chiefs, like Dallas again, like the Bills. I mean, we got a tough schedule coming up, and that offense needs to get on point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I'm with it. So here's what I think I hear in here, and I'm on the same page with you. First 15 plays, you kind of feel like the game plan, everything that Nick Sirianni has his hands on the most, and Brian Johnson is obviously just going by what they have game planned. It feels like that is a beautiful thing. That is great. And then it's the Mike Tyson line of everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. They get punched in the face, then they got to go in at halftime and be like, all right, what the hell just happened? Let's come up with a new plan. And that's where you see Jalen Hurts start to have these double-digit comebacks like nobody's business, and you see this offense starting to kick it into high gear a little bit. And then I think the Cowboys game is another example of this. They kicked it into high gear. Jalen Hurts went into halftime with one leg, comes back out. Next thing you know, there's a 6-play scoring drive that ends with a 29-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith at the corner of the end zone. And like, where'd that come from? Then the next thing you know, there's like an 8-play drive that ends with 11-play drive that A.J. Brown ends with a touchdown. And it's like, where did that come from? And then 3 straight 3-and-outs. So the adjustment to the adjustment to the adjustment is kind of what they have to work on, that final adjustment in order to really close out a game. And as far as the defense goes, you come up with an interception, you come up with a forced fumble, you come up with 3 sacks in the fourth quarter, and that seems to be the way the Eagles are able to close out games with their defense stepping up late. As their offense starts to sputter, their defense comes up clutch.
Yes, and certainly we need more turnovers on defense. But I really feel it's the offensive play calling that's got to be more efficient. And I would love to be a fly on the wall when it comes to – because Nick Sirianni gave up play calling, right, to Sean Steichen. But that doesn't mean Nick Sirianni's fingerprints aren't all over it, right? It's a collective offensive group during the week that's creating that offense, that's creating the sheet. Mm-hmm. So the first 15, just call it in order, man. It's real easy. And then they have situational, like, all right, on 3rd and long, if they're showing this kind of defense, this is where you go. Second, they have a situational, and you have a set of plays to go for each thing. Well, then it's up to the offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson. So we've all picked the plays. We all know what we're going to run. We just got to figure out in what order. And for some reason, it just feels like it's sputtering there, doesn't it?
Yes, it feels like there's some kind of miscommunication there, and I don't know where that's coming from. And I'm with you. I just hope that it's something that they're able to figure out over the bye week and a day, because they come back from Monday Night Football. I feel like this will be enough time to be like, all right, Shane Steichen is gone. We have now ironed out the wrinkles of Brian Johnson. Sean Desai has now ironed out the wrinkles of whatever wrinkles he had defensively speaking. I would say a lot of his wrinkles come from the injuries more than anything. But I think that's something that they'll iron out in the second half. So I'm with you. As far as my number one thing that I need to see better in the second half of the year, it's not giving up on the run game. And I feel like with the play calling there, that's been a big part of it with Brian Johnson, is they're not trusting the run game enough in the second half. And that's why the averages are down, is because they're not being patient with it for a guy like DeAndre Swift to be able to break out that big run that then changes the entire complexion of the yards per carry.
And listen, Brian Johnson sometimes seems like he comes over with a bad case of the Dugs. And a bad case of the Dugs is you forget the fact that you can actually run the ball. And I don't understand, with one of the best offensive, if not the best offensive line in all of football. And they vocalize it. They love the run game. Oh, we love just pounding and just sucking the soul out of a defense. And especially late in the game when you got a lead. You heard Nick Sirianni in his press conferences say multiple times in multiple weeks that not every 4-minute drive to end the game is the same. Sometimes you're trying to score. Sometimes you're just trying to milk the clock. Sometimes you're just trying to have the ball last. Where's the run game on all that? And like, I remember against the Rams, man, what did we suck? Not 8-9 minutes off the clock at the end of the game just to ice it? Where's that been, man? Stick to the run. So where is it? The play calling? It can't be the offensive line. I'm sorry. It just can't be, despite the injuries that they may have had at the guard positions. Or is it the running backs? Where are we going wrong? Why is this? Why are we forgetting to run the ball?
All right, so that's the side that we want to see corrected and improved upon in the second half. But in the first half, what do you want to see more of? Like, I narrow it down to like really 7 things. I gave a list of 5, but there's 2 honorable mentions, and one of them was the fact that the Cowboys look like they suck, and that's a hot take I want to get to you in a little bit later. But when it comes to what you have loved from the 8-1 start, what really jumps out to you? Like one of your top 3, 2 of your top 3. two of your top three things that really jump out to you about the first half that you have really enjoyed so far this season.
I think my number one thing is I don't have any questions of how this team is going to win. So last year they were steamrolling teams, but could they come from behind? Could they mount a second quarter comeback? They just seem to jump on top of people so quickly. And then at the end, kind of like let things kind of flutter out. There was a couple close games because they took their foot off the gas, if you remember,
yes.
and let teams come back. This team has proven that they can win by jumping ahead. They've proven that they can come from behind, i.e. Washington. They proved that they can win a close game, i.e. Dallas. They proved that they can just ice a team at the end of the game, i.e. the Rams, so on and so forth. So I've seen this team win in a multiple of ways where I just describe them as gritty. Like they're going to figure it out. It's not going to be pretty. Like we're not going to see like supermodel flash and dash sort of type of offensive or defensive play. But what is going to come home at the end is the dub, and I've seen them do it in multiple ways. And that, for me, is the biggest takeaway. Find a way to win. At the end of the year, we don't give a damn how you did it. We just matter that it's a dub, and they've been able to find it in multiple ways.
Certainly, I absolutely agree with that. Now, I want to get to this juicy hot take here, okay? The Dallas Cowboys. I honestly mean this. I'm not saying this just because, this will grab attention, you know?
Yeah.
So it's technically, in my terms, not a hot take, but some might label it as such. But here you go. I think we're getting dangerously close to the Cowboys being irrelevant and insignificant. Now, the Cowboys star is always going to matter. People are always going to go back. I know. Brace yourself. People are always going to be like, I hate that star. And we'll always be like, I hate that star. But let's be honest here. The Cowboys always choke. I mean, we're talking about 25 years here, E-Rock. We're talking about over since if you were, think about this. You're 23 years old. You're born in 2000. You don't know the Cowboys being a real threat. We talked about generations. You know, I come from the same generation here.
Yes,
we understand. We know the Super Bowls. We know the taunting. We know the trash talk. We know all that. But the modern fan, I should say this, the young fan looks at this and they might even know the history, but they haven't experienced the history. And yes, there have been instances here where the Cowboys have taken it to the Eagles, but they're few and far between.
Yeah.
Are we approaching a point where the Cowboys have become, and I compared them to this the other day on the show, I said, are they becoming that younger brother? Are they becoming that younger cousin that you just like, all right, we'll let you play. Come on in. All right, you'll get a couple of shots up in a pickup basketball game, but when it's crunch time, we're blocking your shot in your face. You know what I mean? They're not the real threat. They are dangerously close to becoming just another team in the NFC East.
Well, for all those fans, those younger fans, because listen, we're getting a little long in the tooth. That's okay. You know, we're both.
We're both bald. For the people on the podcast, E-Rock just showed off his beautiful bronze dome. His is more bronze.
We almost white balance the camera doing that. They shine off the dome. But hey, listen, to the younger fan who thinks the Cowboys are irrelevant or just doesn't get it, they look at like guys like us and they're like, "Why are you getting so worked up over this game?" I will say this: consider yourself lucky. Consider yourself lucky. Consider yourself fortunate that this team hasn't won anything, that they've become irrelevant, that you feel that they are insignificant, where they are no longer worth you really getting amped up for or gassed up for. Because I promise you, this is a reciprocal league, okay? And enjoy the time with Jalen Hurts and Jason Kelsey and Hassan Reddick and Slay. Enjoy this time because these windows are incredibly brief. They're incredibly brief. This is a reciprocal league. And there will be a point in time during your lifetime, I hope it doesn't happen, but it's going to, where the Dallas Cowboys will not only be relevant, but they will be at the top of the league. Come talk to me then. Come tell me that they are not the most annoying fan base in the NFL. Tell me that those people that you work with who were never Cowboys fans or didn't give a damn about football, now all of a sudden they're wearing starter jackets and rub it in your face like where you been, right? It's going to happen. And when it does, I want you to think about these two men right here. And I told you so. Because they are by far. You think the Patriots fans were obnoxious? You think Giants fans are obnoxious? There is no more obnoxious cockroach. Oh, my God, they are the worst. Consider yourself lucky. That's all I'm going to say.
These two beautiful bald bastards. Consider yourself forewarned. But you know what? You say that, and it's like, again, it's been 25 years. And like the other part of it is you think about it, you get older, And it's like these kids that are now 23, these young people that are now 23, you've graduated college. You've had a whole life before the Cowboys really threat. You go back to it like this. You'll be 75 by the time the Cowboys are relevant again. No, all right, that's enough.
Hopefully I'll be in a box.
Hopefully we'll both be in a box before they're ever relevant. We'll be telling in our eulogy. They'll be like in 1996 they led a tailgate. Whatever. All right. Here's my last thing for you, and because I haven't talked to you about this yet, and this is such an amazing thing, and I never thought we'd see it, and then we saw it again, and it was beautiful. It was glorious. The Kelly Green jersey coming back. What does it mean to you? And the fact that we're going to see it again against the Bills, I believe it is. What does it mean to you? And are you in the school of it should be the all the time color again?
First and foremost, Jalen Hurts not look like he was born to wear that jersey.
Oh, forget it. Absolutely.
A fan of the Kelly Green or not a fan of the Kelly Green? Just his old school demeanor, how fresh he is, how handsome he is. I'm not going to make it weird, but tell me that he is not born to wear that Kelly Green jersey. It is just absolutely. Mwah. Listen, I've heard it all, right? I'm on social media.
No, let's get weird. Sexy. Let's get weird. He looked flat out sexy.
Okay, let's do it. I am not of the camp that they should change the Kelly Green the entire time, right? Because they won the Super Bowl. Everything is A, S, B. After Super Bowl, before Super Bowl, right? That's the distinguishing mark in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles and will always continue to be from here on end. They won their Super Bowl in midnight green. This team belongs in midnight green. But for the midnight green fans, for the people who are saying, I don't understand this Kelly Green nonsense, it's just a jersey, I don't get it. I fell in love with the team. I fell in love with McNabb and Westbrook and Dawkins. That's the point, is that you fell in love with that team wearing that jersey. And for you and me, Mark, we fell in love with the Philadelphia Eagles when they were wearing Kelly Green. And just like someday kids, the Dallas Cowboys will be relevant, and you will look at these two dudes and be like, hey, we told you so, right? Someday the Eagles are going to move on from the color scheme and the logos and the wings that you are now for. Change is inevitable, right? And when you are as old and as bold as these two guys, someday you will look back and go, you know what? I wish they bring back the midnight green, because that's the jersey and the color and the logo that I fell in love with. And you will understand exactly what the Kelly Green meant to us. I watched that team. I'm not going to go over the top and say I got emotional, because I didn't, but it brought back so much nostalgia of the team that I fell in love with, that my parents taught me to love. It's amazing. This was never going to happen. You got to understand. I know this for a fact. This was never going to happen. I don't know why they changed their mind. I don't know why Jeffrey Lurie changed their mind. But thank you, Jeffrey Lurie. Thank you, Howie Roseman. And thank you, anybody that was involved in bringing that jersey back, because it is glorious. And I cannot wait to see them take the field again. And for Jalen Hurts to wear that jersey when they play the Bills.
I'm with you. Right now, real quick, just got to ask you this. What are you happy with? They already beat Dallas. They got the bye now. Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas again, and then they got Seattle. So you got 5 more games here in the gauntlet. What are you happy with when it comes to a record, my friend?
I want to see them go undefeated, obviously, but I especially have that San Francisco 49ers. Listen, I can deal with another loss, although I'm going to have post-traumatic Super Bowl syndrome, right? I can deal with a loss to, and that's what the benefit of being 8-1. Like, listen, you can lose a couple of these. Not that you want to, but you can lose a couple of these and still get away with it and still have the 1 seed, right?
Right.
And that San Francisco 49ers game, I think the 49ers coaches, players, and most importantly, the fans have backed themselves in the corner where it's don't let us win. Don't let us win again. If you're under the impression or under the guise or under the misconception that you were going to win that game, that NFC Championship game, and move over to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy still healthy, you are delusional, and we are going to prove it to you, because Brock Purdy is healthy, right? The coach was like, I'm glad we're getting the Eagles, Shannon. I'm glad we're getting the Eagles when we get them, because I want to make sure that we're ready. Well, listen, you're ready? You're out of excuses, and we are going to whip that ass one more time. And I'm going to write Nick Sirianni a handwritten letter that says, Coach Sirianni, I'm writing you in advance of the San Francisco 49ers. run the score up on these because listen, man, just prove it to them because they don't want to believe it. Prove
Understood.
it to them
Gotcha.
that you beat Dallas, you beat San Francisco. Who else is in your way?
Fair enough. Okay, this is the last question. When not football, what are you watching? The Sixers? You watching the Flyers? You like the Phillies? What do you watch? Union? What are the Wings? Philadelphia Wings lacrosse? What are we watching?
Listen, Phillies has been constant background noise in the Emmanuel household. But when I say Emmanuel household, when I am away from the game of football or doing social media or being E-Rock in general, much like you, Mark, I enjoy the kids. I enjoy being a family man, and I just enjoy. That's one of the greatest joys in the world, besides winning a Super Bowl. You know,
yeah. Hey, just to put this
in the world, being dad.
Just to put this fear in you, I know your daughter is not that far away from babysitting age, and my daughter's going to need a babysitter. So just keep her cheap. Just keep her at a cheap rate, please.
I got
just keep her at a cheap rate.
Here's the direction I thought you were going in. Like, what if she starts dating and she brings home a Cowboys?
Oh, no. Dude, I would not wish that upon your house, my friend.
Thank you.
I have respect about me. His name is Eric Emanuel. You know him, of course, as E-Rock. You can follow him on all his social media platforms. Does a great job. A content king of Eagles content, as per usual. Eric, always great catching up with you, man. Thanks so much.
Oh, man, I appreciate it.
Are you any more trips, real quick? Any more trips, Philly sports trips this year?
So, speaking of which, in the next couple of weeks will be the first time that he is ever going into the pit of hell and visiting AT&T Stadium. I'm going to Jerry World for the first time. Man.
Oh,
yeah. This might be the week, man. It might be the week you catch me on Crossing Broad because he did something. You know what I mean? I'm mentally bracing myself for going into the pit of hell. I talk my talk on social media, but man, I got to go in there and see those people infested with all those
I am dying to hear your take on it. I've been there many times, but I'm very much looking forward to hear what you have to say. So I'll be following you as per usual. I'm probably texting you as well to be like, dude, you okay? You're gonna be Happy Gilmore in the batting cage, just getting ready. Okay, couple more weeks till I go into AT&T Stadium. Punk, just getting ready for it.
Set aside some bail money. I might need to do a GoFundMe. Listen.
You got it, brother. You got it. Hey, E-Rock, always great catching up, man. Thanks so much, and we'll be in touch before that Dallas week. That's for sure.